to the Wellington Metro Upgrade Project Tunnel-Specific Induction. KiwiRail, the Greater Wellington Regional Council and train operator Transdev are working together to create a better rail network for Wellington commuters. The Wellington Metro Upgrade Project objective is to improve the rail network's reliability and resilience and provide an improved service to Wellington's rail commuter customers. It will also benefit businesses that freight goods by rail and reduce the number of heavy vehicles on the region's roads. This project builds on upgrade works completed 10 years ago as part of wider network improvements. This project-specific induction will focus on the tunnel works that are programmed to be undertaken. Planned works include Tunnels 1 and 2 on the Kapiti line, also known as the North Island Main Trunk or NIMT, between Kaiwhatawhata and Tawa, which both require track works to ensure network reliability, including the up main track renewal and drainage improvements. Tunnel 2 is approximately 4.5 kilometres in length. Both main lines are to be replaced in Tunnel 1 and we need to reballast the track. The tunnels between North and South Junction on the NIMT have been lowered in the past decade, however sleepers are required to be replaced in Tunnels 3 to 6. The slab track in Tunnel 7 requires replacement. Rock bolting is also required in this tunnel. Longer term, this tunnel may be daylighted or removed. Re-sleepering works in Johnsonville line tunnels. Relaying of track through Tunnels 1 and 2 on the Wairarapa line. Tunnel 2, Rumitaka, is the second longest tunnel on the KiwiRail network at 8.8 kilometres in length. The upgrade work is expected to commence late in 2019 and will continue over the next few years. Successful delivery of this project means there are no safety or environmental incidents or injuries to personnel throughout the work. Please pay attention to this induction. There will be a short test at the end of each section that you need to complete. Zero harm. KiwiRail is committed to zero harm to staff, contractors and the environment. It's an expectation that everyone working on this project shares this commitment. Success means that everyone returns home uninjured after every shift. Everyone needs to work together, communicate effectively and know their responsibilities. A safe environment means that the workplace is tidy and there are facilities to ensure the safety of all people on site. Report all incidents and any concerns, unsafe acts or hazards to your supervisor immediately. Comply with all rules and procedures as they are there to keep you safe. Fit for work means you are free from the effects of drugs and alcohol and you are not tired or fatigued that could cause you to lose concentration and have an incident. Staff. Sometimes things change during a shift. It could be a change in the job you are doing or starting a new task. When this happens, KiwiRail has a simple process to help you review your safety. The process is called STAR. The STAR process gets you to stop, think, act and review before undertaking a task. The STAR process works like this. Stop before starting a task to consider the risks. Think about what can go wrong. How can I make this task safer? Is there a safer means of doing the work using alternative methods? For example, can I use a digger to lift the heavy bundle of material rather than lifting it by manual handling? Once you are sure the task can be done safely, proceed. Do not proceed if you feel it's unsafe and discuss it with your supervisor. To keep everyone safe, there are site rules for this project which are: keep clear of the railway at all times unless instructed otherwise. Obey all safety signage. Smoke only in designated areas. No verbal abuse or offensive language. Beware of the overhead power at all times. Park in the designated area only. Wear PPE at all times. Only operate tools, machinery or plant that you are trained or licensed to use. Report any incident and accidents. Risks and hazards. A hazard is something that, if not controlled, could cause harm to people, the environment, or equipment. Hazards and risks that are part of your work must be identified, assessed, and controlled. Doing nothing is not an option. Everyone on site must be aware of the hazards. If you note a hazard on site, inform your supervisor immediately, and if you can, take steps to remove the hazard or reduce the risk. When you're controlling a hazard, you should always try and eliminate the risk. If elimination is not possible, you must minimize the risk of the hazard. Site-specific critical risks. KiwiRail has identified some critical safety risks within the work environment that have potential for a worker to sustain a significantly life-changing or fatal injury. The first critical safety risk is trains. Much of the work is taking place in busy areas of the network where there are frequent train movements. Because of this, the work is restricted to block-of-line or night work. Most of the trains are electric, so they're very quiet, and you may not hear them approaching. Because trains run on rails, they can't swerve to avoid you, and they can't stop quickly like a truck or car. Trains are very heavy, and collisions with trains are usually fatal or lead to very serious permanent injuries, making them a critical safety risk. The use of headphones or earphones is prohibited on site as they block the ability to hear trains approaching. If you need to take a phone call, only use phones in safe areas away from the railway and operating plant and machinery. Some work may be undertaken behind fences with the railway operational and trains passing by. In these cases, a safety fence will be set up to separate the worksite from the live railway. It's important that nothing crosses over the fence line towards the railway. This includes machinery and plant. In this area, trains can operate in either direction at any time on the track. During night work and on block of lines, the train services will be suspended and you will be authorised to access the railway to complete the work. The Rail Protection Officer or Site Protector is the only person who can authorise you to access the track, and you will be required to lock on with a padlock before accessing within 4 metres of the railway. It's not only trains that operate on the railways. High rail vehicles, track maintenance machines and plant which are equipment fitted with rail wheels may also be operating on work sites. So remember, you can only access the track when authorised by the Rail Protection Officer or Site Protector. Control of energy. Overhead and underground power is a critical safety risk. The work area is electrified with 1500 volt DC overhead power lines above the railway to power the trains. This system is called overhead electrification, and because it's always live, no machinery can encroach within 4 metres of any lines. Contacting these overhead lines could result in death through electrocution or very serious burns. You will need KiwiRail electrification awareness training in addition to this induction to work on the site. For some of the work activity on the track or within 4 metres of the overhead lines, the power can be turned off or isolated. A permit is issued by KiwiRail called an EF201 that certifies the power is isolated and lines earthed. No work can be undertaken which might get close to the overhead lines unless there is an EF201 permit in place. Your supervisor will provide you with details of any power isolations in the pre-start briefing. In addition to overhead power, there are also buried services. A permit to dig will be required before any excavation works are undertaken. This is to ensure all cables and underground services have been located prior to working. There are traction feed cables, signalling power and fibre optic cables which all need protecting from damage as they can cause electrocution to personnel and significant disruption to the operation of the rail network if they get struck. People and plant interface is another critical safety risk. Working areas can be constrictive, especially if there are multiple work activities being undertaken. Because of this, make sure that there are exclusion zones set up around excavators and plant. If you need to enter the swing area of an excavator, get the permission from the operator first. Keep clear of reversing plant and machinery as the operator may not see you. Use a spotter to aid reversing plant and to keep people clear. Make sure people and plant are kept separated as much as possible. Critical safety risk: use of PPE. Personal protective equipment is the last line of defence from being injured. The minimum PPE or PPC for working on this project is elbow to ankle body cover clothing to be worn on site, a hard hat, preferably white. Avoid red or green colours as they are not permitted on the railway worksite. Eye protection to be worn at all times on the worksite. Consider having clear safety glasses for night work and where there is low light. Orange high visibility clothing with reflective stripes must be worn at all times so that you can be seen. Steel-capped lace-up safety boots. Make sure that these are fully laced to help avoid twisted ankles from uneven surfaces on the worksite. Gloves are to be available at all times and worn when you are working on site. Other PPE may be required depending on the task that you're undertaking. Critical safety risk, fitness for work. KiwiRail has a fitness for work policy. This means that you're expected to arrive at work in a fit and healthy state that does not put you or other workers at risk. KiwiRail is a drug and alcohol-free workplace, which means you must not be affected by drugs and alcohol. There is no storage or consumption of alcohol or drugs on site. Random drug and alcohol testing applies to everyone on this project. Tell your supervisor if you're on medication that may affect your safety or concentration. KiwiRail fatigue management guidelines require the work shift to be planned to be no greater than 12 hours. 14 hours is the absolute maximum length of shift, however this requires approval from the KiwiRail project manager. Fatigue is a risk on this project as there will be day and night works along with extended work periods during the block of lines. To help avoid fatigue, plan to get at least 8 hours sleep in between shifts. Take regular breaks and drink water to keep you hydrated throughout your shift. Avoid excessive alcohol. Avoid coffee or caffeine before you go to sleep. Ask your family and neighbours to be quiet if you're sleeping during the day. Use a fan to help keep your bedroom cooler when sleeping. If you're feeling fatigued, tell your supervisor before starting the shift. Much of Wellington Network's railway track is on a grade. This can be very slight and is not always visible. Steel wheels on steel rail make for easy rollaway events, and these can have deadly results if a rail-mounted trolley or plant hits workers. A key safety requirement on this project is to ensure any rail-mounted trolley or plant is secured at all times from rollaway by the application of brakes and/or wheel chocks. Tunnels present unique hazards and risks, and as such, all personnel working in tunnels must hold the KiwiRail tunnel safety training. This safety training includes information on hazardous gases, tunnel safety plans, protective equipment required, including the self-contained self-rescuers, and fire prevention. No access to any railway tunnel is permitted unless personnel have the training, gas detection monitors, and SCSRs. High rail vehicles and plant that is used in tunnels must be approved fire hardening and have fire suppression systems. These plant and vehicles are termed tunnel suitable and will be identifiable by a sticker or other suitable marking. No petrol-powered plant are permitted to be used in tunnels due to the risk of fire and release of toxic gases. For the longer tunnels, Tunnel 2 NIMT, Tawa 2, at 4.3 kilometres, and Tunnel 2 Wairarapa Line, Rumitaka, at 8.7 kilometres, have some additional rules around working in them. For work sites further than 2,280 metres from a tunnel portal, the escape requirement means that there must always be a means of wheeled escape and that the worksite layout is planned so that a high rail vehicle on fire will not block access to the escape vehicle. This is to allow for a quick exit should an emergency occur. Train control is required to be notified of the total number of persons working in the Rumitaka Tunnel as part of the entry requirements. Because of the nature of tunnel works, you may be required to work at night or make use of block of line track closures to maximise the productive work windows where trains are not operating. When works are completed in tunnels or at the end of shifts, it is critical that the tunnel is checked for any equipment or tools that may be left behind. Also check that no cables or material is left hanging from the tunnel walls that may catch on passing trains. Make sure you have adequate lighting to work safely in tunnels, and ensure hard hats are worn at all times. Always plan for an emergency. Have you got an escape route? Do you have communication throughout the tunnel? And does everyone know the plan? Risk management pre-start meetings. Each team working on the project must start the shift with the pre-start safety briefing, which includes everyone in your team. The pre-start is an important step to ensure everyone working on site is briefed on what work is being undertaken and, most importantly, the hazards and risk controls that need to be followed to prevent harm. Items to cover at your briefing include the job details. Is this the safest way to do this task? Is there a safer way? Are there any new or unusual hazards? Check that everyone has the right PPE to work safely. Check emergency procedures have been communicated. Any new or inexperienced staff are sufficiently supervised. Are there any permits to work required, such as an overhead electrification permit or a permit dig? Remember to review and rebrief the team if work changes. Take the time to do a thorough pre-start because no job is so urgent that we don't have time to do it safely. Site emergency procedures will be covered at the pre-start briefings and on notice boards on site. Make sure that you're familiar with the procedures. Check that you know where to find the first aid kit and that the kit is adequately stocked. If you use the first aid kit, report this to your supervisor so it can be refilled, and if you've suffered an injury, advise your supervisor and complete an incident form. Fire extinguishers are also available on site. Make sure you know where they're located. Environmental. KiwiRail's environmental policy places a responsibility on everyone to look after the environment. KiwiRail's network runs through many stunning areas of natural beauty, and it's KiwiRail's role to be a guardian or kaitiaki for this environment. We need to ensure the work we are undertaking does not damage the environment. Be aware of dust created. Dust is both a health hazard to workers and a nuisance to neighbours. Always look to reduce dust as much as possible by means such as wetting down the work area. Protect drains and waterways from pollution caused by the work. Install silt controls and make sure you have bunding around any hazardous liquids stored on site. Be respectful of the neighbours, and if there are any complaints, refer them immediately to your supervisor and KiwiRail to respond. Make sure that you park in the allocated car park and do not block any adjacent roads or driveways. When working at night, keep noise to a minimum. Plan work that will create a lot of noise for during the day or blocks of line. Make sure you have spill kits available and the right PPE to deal with the spilled material. If you do have a spill, promptly clean it up so that it doesn't run into drains and report it as an incident. Do not refuel plant or equipment next to drains wherever possible. Finally, take time to read and understand your site environmental management plan and do your part to protect the environment. Incident reporting. If you have an incident or accident on site, you must report this to your supervisor immediately. Report all incidents, including close calls, to allow for prevention measures to be put in place to prevent more serious incidents and injuries. This also includes environmental incidents where something has spilled. Reporting the small stuff helps prevent the big stuff. If you have any questions or you're not sure, ask your supervisor for advice. Never assume anything. Look out for everyone on site, and if you see someone at risk because of what they're doing or not doing, stop them. You will receive an induction sticker for your hard hat. This must be displayed on site to confirm you've received the induction. Finally, before we end this presentation, we'd like to invite all workers on the project to put forward ideas for improvement. We've all had ideas on how to do things safer or better, so we welcome your input. If you see or think of things that can be done better or differently, let us know. It might be a simpler process or a new tool or piece of equipment that can make work easier. Speak to your supervisor and get involved with our Making a Difference program. Your ideas can directly impact on making the workplace safer for yourself and your fellow workmates. Thanks for paying attention to this presentation. Everyone's responsible for safety on this project, so get involved and do your part.